As you all know, one of the 6 areas of focus of Rotary is education. And I ran across this study that I thought was just right on, spot on, and amazing. It said they found that behind every successful student, there is a deactivated Facebook account. And I know you're waiting for this. Today is National Rice Pudding Day. Of course, this is a sweet dessert made with rice and cream and sugars and other flavorings. It dates back to the Tudor period, and it was originally called white pot. The earliest recipe was in 1615, and of course, to celebrate this day, we're supposed to make it and eat it. And with that, we will sing the first verse of America. Today will be by Robertson.
Please bow your head. We seek blessings on the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality.
Thank you. And Carol Bradbury for our guest introductions.
We have lots of guests today that we'd like to welcome, and here's how it goes. I will be calling the person that has invited you to come. They will stand up, you will stand up. After they introduce you, you will continue to stand. And at the end, we'll say the applause until the very end, okay? So I'd like to welcome, first of all, Jennifer Owen from Topeka South. There's Jennifer. Stay standing, yeah. We also have Councilman Brendan Jensen from Topeka South Rotary. Stan Martinell has someone to introduce.
I actually have 2 guests. Willis Scott, he is a reporter with KSNT. He was here last week. He is interested in being part of our club. My other guest is my oldest daughter, Taylor, who is a nurse at KU Med, although she spent the last 3 months in Austin as a traveling nurse, and she's now back on her way to Kansas City.
We also have David Beck as a guest today.
My guest is my sister-in-law, Jean Beck, who just got off the Southwest Chief this morning on her way back from Flagstaff, where she was visiting her grandkids, and on her way back to Wisconsin, where she lives.
Betsy Schlossman, can you introduce your guest?
I'd like to introduce our exchange student for this year from Belgium. This is Taya. Did I get it right? There's much confusion as we do introductions of her, on her name. Anyway, Taya Flesch, who again is from Belgium, and will be attending Siena High School.
Let's give a warm welcome to our guests.
Thank all of you for coming. We're really glad to have you here. Stan, can you fix the buzz in this? It's really not pleasant. Our month's featured charity is Big Brothers Big Sisters, and their mission is to provide children facing adversity with strong and enduring, professionally supported, one-to-one relationships that change their lives for the better, forever. We have a new member announcement. Alan Cobb, Alan, I don't know if you're here today. He is the president and CEO of the Kansas Chamber of Commerce. He is a returning Rotarian, so he knows the ropes. He's interested in community and international services, and he's sponsored by Anderson Chandler. And I want to remind you once more of the team training, formerly FML, and they've changed the format of this. It's on April 19th, August 19th, the week from Saturday. at 8:30 to 1:30 in Lawrence. There's lots of information on your emails and on the website. I just got an email this morning, and you guys might have too, about how they've changed the format. It sounds really great. They're going to have little 20-minute, down and dirty, quick segments. They give lots of information really fast about various areas, such as grant training, the Rotary Foundation nuts and bolts, one they call R&D, which is rip off and duplicate. So basically, you share things among clubs. Technology, like the club runner, generational leadership. They're just really a lot of really good things. So I think it'll be a fun day. One more reminder also of our social, our All Topeka Rotary Social, which will be, I think, 3 weeks from today, the 31st of August, at Civic Theater at 5:30. So please plan on being there. And I believe we need to have a head count so we can order the right amount of goodies. Betsy, if you would make your way up here along with Taya. Just this morning, I had an invitation from the Topeka South Club. It was via my husband, who's in Topeka South, and on their community service committee. And they have a service project called Early Act. And basically, club members go to schools and they teach third graders the four-way test. It's a 2-hour commitment 1 week and then the following week. And they've had a little bit of trouble getting volunteers. And so they suggested, reached out to our club for volunteers. And my husband tells me that it's a really fun and very, very fulfilling event for both the kids and for the volunteers. So that will come up in the fall. I just wanted to let you know about it. And we'll get the dates and all the specifics. So I hope that our club and South can work together on that. So come on up here, Betsy and Taya. We get a little extra introduction to our inbound student.
Excuse me. Taya has been an absolute delight. We picked her up at the airport, David, and the Huff family. We were out there and met her flight, and believe it or not, her flight arrived early. But we ended up being there right on time. And so it's been a delight. She's staying with me, and she has her suite downstairs. I have a finished basement with my guest room in it, and that's where she's staying. And she has amazing energy. I don't know if jet lag has really gotten to her, except maybe the first night where she was absolutely hungry but was too tired to eat. Anyway, let me introduce you again. This is Taya Flesh.
So, nice to meet you. I'm from Belgium, and I live in a small town. I speak French. In my country, we speak 3 languages, Dutch, German, and French. I speak a little bit Dutch, but no German. I went to high school. I finished high school because I'm 18 years old. I have the flag of my country. Pastor 2. Here, this is two rivers. Sorry. It's called Lourdes, and it's called La Hogne. This is the flag of Pasteur, and this is the flag of my city. I don't know if I have to say more about it.
Where do you go to school?
Here I'm going to Seaman High School, and I would like to learn Spanish biology, chemistry, mathematics. I like to play volleyball too, so I hope that I will be in the team. And that's all.
We would like to present to you our club flag as well. And we would also like you to have a rotary coin. It has the four-way test on it. It's the way we live as Rotarians. So we're very, very glad that you're here, and we hope you have a wonderful year. Thank you. So I'm sure you all know that a little while ago, we lost one of our Rotarians, Lonnie Williams, and we'd like to take a few moments today to honor him. We are very pleased that a lot of his family members are here today to be able to share this time together. I'd like to ask Ray Hahn, who's a good memory friend, to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, everyone. It's very good to say a few words about Lonnie, you know. I really appreciate that Lonnie's family members always here. Would you please stand up? Lonnie's mom is here. She's 90 years old. Lonnie's wife, Jill, is here. Lonnie's son, Dana. Son-in-law, brother, sister, grandkids, could you please stand up once? Yeah. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Took some time come to Rotary Club today. You know, I know Lonnie. It's probably close to 10 years. Last 6 years, we become very, very good friends, you know. So, We hang out together, we travel international, Malaysia. We spend so much time over there. And we opened a business, partnered to work together. He was one of my partners. Every time I go to Kansas City or Lonnie, either he drive or I drove, you know. 1 week I drove, the next week he said, yeah, you're going to drive today, you know. Those kind of relation I have with Lonnie, you know. And they were planning to go Bangladesh last year, then he suddenly said he could not, but he didn't tell me why. He said, I was not feeling good. And we got a visa. I got his passport, we got a visa from Bangladesh. You see the ambassador was here. So he gave him a special visa to travel Bangladesh to Lonnie. You know, Monday he got the visa, okay. So yeah, I have a lot of memory with Lonnie. You know, I cannot say, you know, it's going to take a long time to talk about Lonnie. In my life in US, I've been 30 years. I think that I lost good-hearted friend. You can say that he's a big-hearted person. Anytime I say, Lonnie, you want to do it? He said, okay. If you're with me, I'll do it. He never said no. He never said no. You want to do it? I'll do it. Okay. If you're with me, I'll do it. Okay. He had a lot of community, not only African American. He has Asian community. He has a bonding with Asian community because I'm from Asian American, so I took a lot of Asian programs. He helped, you know, get a lot of friends, Asian communities, as well as all of you guys, you know. And before he passed away, I asked him, is it okay to come to your house? He said, my door is open, you come anytime you want it. Don't call me, just come. And, you know, I've been blessed that I come almost every 2-3 days, talk to him, or spend time in his house. His wife was there, Jill, son was there. And, you know, I've been blessed that even the day he died, before I was there spending a couple hours, and I don't know that he would die on Friday. And then I called me, I was in Manhattan, he said, you see my dad's come right now. By this time I came, and Lonnie's gone. I'm going to say a few words, his bio I have, you know, I can talk long about Lonnie, but I know you guys, time is very important. Everybody know about Lonnie, but I'm going to read again. Lonnie Joseph William, 70, passed away with his family by his side on June 30, 2017 in Midland Hospices. Lonnie was born in Taft, Oklahoma on November 10, 1946, the son of Earl Williams and Rosetta English Williams. Lonnie was a 1964 graduate of Eden High School. While in high school, he was active in sports and played of the Eden basketball team. He later attended the Long Beach State University, where I was also. Long Beach State University is a common, and I didn't know that Lonnie was there. Where he studied physiology, Lonnie excelled in athletics and was recruited by the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team. Lonnie was drafted in the United States Army and served his country during the Vietnam War from 1967 to 69. While in the Army, he trained as a sharpshooter, rifle, lineman, and wearman. He received the National Defense Service Medal, Vietnam Service Medal, and Vietnam Camping Medal with 60 devices. Following his honorable discharge, Lonnie worked for the Kansas Juvenile Correction Facility, former YCAT and BIS, returning in 2000 after 30 years of service. The later Lonnie founded LNG Building Maintenance in 1968. At the time of his passing, his business currently operates in 5 states throughout the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic regions. He had a history of community and public service, serving on numerous boards, among them in Living the Dream Foundation, African American Male Leadership Council, Leadership Gator Topeka Chambers of Commerce, and Jayhawk State Theaters. And through the Kansas, the Jayhawk renovation project, where he served as the chairman of the fundraising committee. Lonnie had an entrepreneurial spirit and was knowing of, we say, TNT. All the time we say TNT, today, not tomorrow. That's about Lonnie, you know. He earned many awards throughout his career. In 2008, he earned the U.S. Small Business Administration Minority Small Business Person of the Year. For a 4th reason, and the March of 2014, Lonnie was inducted into the 2014 Topeka Business Hall of Fame, Roosevelt Junior Achievement. Lonnie was a member of New Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. He was an avid basketball fan and enjoying the traveling. I told you he loved to travel. We travel a lot together, Kansas, Missouri, and other states. Perhaps his greatest joy was helping others, raising scholarship money for young, monitoring a small business owner, and being the social company of the family and friends. Lonnie was produced by his father, Earl Williams, and his stepfather, Robert Taylor. Lonnie united in marriage to Jill Marks on December 29, 1986 in Miami, Oklahoma. She survives other survivors, including his children, Donovan William, Dana, Lakashi William, Keisha William, Todd Johnson, and Andrew Troy, Rendell, mother Rosita Taylor's brothers, Sermon Jenny, Hester and Larry, and Hanser sisters, Deborah Singleton, Marjorie Taylor, Phyllis Williams, and Philia Williams, and 7 grandchildren, some of them here, 1 great-grandchild, and host and other relatives and friends who love him. We all gonna miss him. And Lonnie families, thank you to everyone, the Rotary clubs, and the community, whatever they did for you. May God bless you.
We'd like to tell the family that we are making a donation to the Rotary International, I'm sorry, to our local Rotary Foundation in Lonnie's honor. And also, we would like to present you with these flowers with Lonnie's Rotary badge. And now, if you'll all please stand, we'll ring the bell for Lonnie one last time, and then we will observe a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Ron Barron will introduce our speaker today.
Good afternoon. Nice to see you all this afternoon. And I had a question. How many of us love to vote? Just put up your hands. Okay, great. How many of you have volunteered to work at the polls? Okay, excellent. Well, the voting process is a critical one to our democracy. The voting process has come under so much scrutiny and criticism in recent years, especially with the national and state level. Whether it's Russian interference, internet hackers, or illegal voting, these are all disturbing to citizens and leaving us to wonder about the integrity of the voting process. To help us understand what is happening with the voting process, I'm pleased to introduce to you Andrew Howell. Mr. Howell is the Shawnee County Election Commissioner, and he is one of only 4 election commissioners in Kansas. And prior to being appointed by Secretary of State Chris Kobach in 2012, Mr. Howell served as a police officer, state representative, and president of Restoration Services in Kansas. Please let us give a warm Rotary welcome to Mr. Andrew Howell.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and visit with you today. I'm going to try to keep my remarks fairly short because I know many of you have some questions you'd probably like to ask, so hopefully you get a chance to ask those questions. And I actually enjoy the interaction. So thank you again for the warm welcome, the chance to visit with you. I see many familiar faces here. Some of you from the legislature, Judiciary Committee, some of you as election workers, some of you as elected officials. So I also just want to do something for 1 second. Mark Stock, you can stand up for just 1 second. My assistant election commissioner, as many of you know, very hard worker. Thank you, Mark. Mark is a true public servant, and I just want to say thank you. I know a lot of you have interaction with him in the office. He does a lot of work in the office. I'm very thankful, but he is the epitome of a true public servant, so thank you, Mark, for that. Just briefly, as many of you know, I was appointed in 2012 originally. Libby Inslee, who I have a great deal of respect for, was your former election commissioner. And you know, you can tell when you follow somebody if they've done good work, they've worked hard, they were truly public servants. She was the best. I have no doubt in my mind about that. So I just want to say you've had good people who've done good work. So let me just talk for a second about, over the past 5 years as your election commissioner, some of the things that we've done, just kind of as a reminder of where we've been and kind of where we're at today. As many of you remember, in 2012, a ballot was handed out incorrectly. And so one of the things I've spent a great deal of time trying to figure out and trying to change the process in the office so that that doesn't happen again, so that we are sure that you as the voting public and that we on the election side who are making elections happen know that you're getting the correct ballot. And so one of the innovations that we worked on very early was the poll pads, those electronic poll books that I think many of you have seen at your polling places. We think those have been an effective tool because they print out a ticket, and you can tell if your name is on that ticket, you can look at that and tell if you're receiving the correct ballot or not because it has a numbering sequence. And that number makes it much easier, I believe, and our experience has been for each voter to know that they're receiving the correct ballot. So we've spent a great deal of time and effort working on improving that part of the process. Let's talk for just a minute about long lines and wait times. You know, there's been some conversation in the press that I may or may not have had too many ward workers at the polling place. Those matters of how many election workers are working in your polling place are actually a fairly complex determination. People have to check you in. We have to know that you're getting the correct ballot. Additionally, one thing to keep in mind as it relates, has anybody had, I'm just curious, has anybody had to wait more than 30 minutes in the last election? If you have, I'd like to know. Because maybe one? No? Okay.
You mean the mayoral runoff?
Yes. Yeah. That's our lowest turnout election, so I would guess probably not. But in 2012 and 2013, I know we had some long lines. We had some things to improve, and we worked very hard to do that, and I think we're getting there. But one of the complex things about making sure that we don't deny people their opportunity, you know, people have to get to work. I mean, they can show up at the polls between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., and that's a peak time. So we work pretty hard to make sure that we can get you processed quickly. Our internal goal and the goal of the Presidential Commission on Elections said that 30 minutes wait time is a reasonable number. I try to keep it to 15 minutes, but it does take people to do that. And it takes processes that work and that are functional. So that's one of the things that we've worked on very hard. One of the big changes that happened for the election office in 2015 was we actually were put into a new space that really wasn't planned out. So as Mark will tell you, we spent a lot of late nights working on getting voter flow, getting the building functional, making sure that it would work well for everybody. It took a great deal of time, but we think it is a major improvement. And I encourage each of you to consider voting early at the election office. It's about 2 weeks before every election that you can come into the office and vote. It's usually a quick and fairly painless process. So we've been dealing with that. Additionally, we had over 1,000 voters a day in the presidential election through the office, and we think it worked very well. Most of the feedback we got was very positive on that process. So we're working on making that easier for voters. The average wait time is about 5 minutes or less for most voters. The other thing I think that maybe the public doesn't fully appreciate is the complexity of the election statutes themselves. There are over 580 statutes that we have to comply with. We're talking about civil rights violations if we don't, so we have to take it very seriously and make sure that each voter truly does get that opportunity without having to wait excess time or that a mistake is made. So we work very hard at making sure that happens. You know, I'm going to talk for just a second, and I don't know that you've probably heard about this. We're very proud of the award that we won recently at the national level. This is the Innovator Award for the Elections Officials Division from the International Association of Government Officials. Libby Inslee was actually the president of IACRI, and so Shawnee County has, I think, a proud history of being very involved and very forward-thinking as it relates to the national organization. We're proud of the award that we just won. That Innovator Award was because we saved Shawnee County taxpayers over $300,000 with the way we handled the purchase of election equipment. Additionally, across the state, because we work with others, we've saved $1.6 million for taxpayers across the state because of the way we did that bidding process. So we're proud of that award. It's a national recognition. We think you should be proud that Shawnee County is getting recognition nationally for saving taxpayers money, building better processes. And I want to say a couple of other things too. Part of that RFP process, and I think it was a critical part, was listening very carefully to the community about what they wanted and what things mattered to them. The League of Women Voters is very heavily involved, and I've said publicly, I agree with their positions. I think they did excellent work, and we put all of their recommendations into work as part of our RFP process. So, a big thank you to the local League of Women because they really spent a lot of time and effort, and I happen to agree. I think a paper ballot for every voter is an important and critical component to a well-run election. So whether you vote an ADA process, or whether you vote on a touchscreen, or whether you just want a standard paper ballot, either way, a piece of paper will be put into a tabulator that will count your vote. So if there's ever a question, if we ever need to do a recount, or if there's ever an allegation or a question about something, we still have a piece of paper now with this new equipment that we can go back and look at and do an actual verification by hand if necessary. So we're proud of that work, and we think it demonstrates our commitment to listening, to collaboration with others. Additionally, the award, I think, was also won because I got together with the other 3 election commissioners across the state that represent 52% of all registered voters in the state. So as a part of that process, we were able to work together to find ways to save taxpayers money, and I think that this award recognizes that. So we're proud of that. A couple of things, and I'm sure you'll have some questions, so I'm going to let you ask questions here in just a second, because I think I like the interaction, I like the questions, and I think a conversation with the public and with people in general is very important. Some of you know that I've had the county commission, and I do not see eye to eye on budget matters at the moment. And again, just for the record, I've spent 3 years trying to find a way to work carefully with them, trying to be inclusive of the budget matters. Again, just as a matter of record, 2008, the budget was $1.3 million. 2016, it's $1.3 million plus about $300,000 worth of new software costs. So even though we won an award nationally for an excellent bid process to save taxpayers real dollars, software since 1994 has changed a lot. We no longer use Windows 95. We've moved on to a new era as it relates to software, and so it does cost more money. That's just a fact. And the software is much more complex, and it does a lot more things for voters. And part of the cost that we now have at the election office, the biggest single piece that's driving the new expenses in the office is the software contracts. Again, county commissioners signed off on it. I think it's important that we just say it does cost more. But the overall, absent the software piece, we're still running at roughly the same numbers that we always have. So I just want to make sure you understand we've got national recognition for saving real money because it matters to us. And I take it seriously. And other than the software costs, we're very much where we've always been for the last 10 years. Okay, just a couple of real quick things because the law has changed as it relates to elections. Just a reminder, we no longer have city school elections in the spring. Those are now in the fall, so there is an election coming up November the 7th for city offices, mayor and city council, school board positions. And for those of you that live in Sherwood, your Sherwood Improvement Board directors are also going to be on the ballot. And for those of you that live out in the county in a drainage district, there will also be a drain election, which is a little bit out of cycle, but because the legislature changed those dates, those will also be on your ballots for those of you that live in those drainage districts. Again, I actually want to hear from each of you what you think, what you want to know, what questions you have. So I think at some level, I'll go ahead and open it up for questions and try to respond to those. Yes?
I have a question. I see the Secretary of State, Chris Cover, trying to make the voters' lives more harder. There's a voting fraud going on state level and the whole nationwide. Do you believe there is a voting fraud? Because President said also 3 million last election there is a voting fraud. How did things happen when this is the country, the developing country? I would understand the country I came from, they have a lot of voting fraud, part of our country, but this is the country, I cannot believe that there would be a voting fraud.
It's my opinion that the 2012 law that required voter ID makes it much, much tougher than it used to be to do that. So I think between, our electronic poll pads now scan a driver's license. Now you can use other forms of ID, but that scan is so much quicker and efficient that I think most people have kind of accepted. Maybe I'm not crazy about that piece of the law from just a privacy perspective maybe, but at the end of the day, it's actually become much quicker and a much smoother process. It's my opinion that law, again, I wasn't here before 2012, so I can't really speak to it in one sense, but I do think that voter ID law, just from a how easily can fraud be accomplished perspective, makes it much more difficult. Every election I see at least 1 or 2 ballots that I have a question about, so 1 or 2 votes can make a difference. I don't want to underemphasize the fact that if there's 1 or 2, it can make a difference in a close race. I don't see a lot of it personally. So for what it's worth, Mark and I work very hard to make sure, something that's important for people to remember is at each of our polling places, we have Republicans and Democrats and independents and libertarians. We try to get as much diversity, and by law we're required to. Every polling place has people of different parties, and that's done for a reason, so that there's accountability in all of them. Additionally, in our office, we have software passwords, we now have video cameras, we have multiple levels of security in place for a reason. So our machines are never hooked up to the internet, and by law, our database that we actually push the results out from is never hooked up to the internet. So I'm comfortable that people aren't hacking our system. And I think that's important to say as well. Again, to answer your question, I don't see a lot of it. And since 2012, since that law was passed, I think that makes it much more difficult to accomplish. Other questions? Yes?
How often do you have to look at the boundaries of the precincts and make adjustments in size?
I have tried to avoid making any changes unless absolutely necessary. I haven't had to make much. There's been a couple of just minor changes, mostly due to the city changing of some of their boundaries, and so we've had to adjust precincts and switch out some townships for some precinct boundaries. I try to avoid that because I think it's very important that voters know what their precinct is and know where their polling place is. And so if you experience a change in your polling place, 99.9% chance it's not because I wanted to, it's because I was told go away, don't come back by someone. So if you've got a place that you want us to vote, let us know. We're always looking. And I know our polling places aren't perfect, but frankly, we pay $50 per polling place, so no one's getting rich leasing voters in the Shawnee County Election Office a polling place. So we try to avoid change as much as possible is the quick answer on that. Yes?
What can we do to get more participation in voting? Voting percentages are pretty low. What do you do about that?
I think the legislature's theory was that November elections would help. I honestly think engagement from candidates probably drives that more than anything else personally. One other question.
Yes, say I really appreciate the voter fraud law. In 2012, I was a victim of voter fraud. I went to my polling place. The people who have known me for years, and men who looked down, someone had signed my name. And it's a horrible feeling. And so it does exist. I'm a victim of voter fraud. I reported it to the Secretary of State's office, where I was told I was the only documented case of voter fraud in that presidential election, which I cannot believe that that is true. But anyway, so I really do appreciate the law.
Thank you. Thanks for the chance to visit. I'll be here after. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Great information. I'm really sorry about this buzz. Rather than giving you a little gift, we present a book to the local school, Ross Elementary, and before you go, I feel sign a book plate on that. We'll pass that on. So thank you very much for your comments today. Let's see, I have one other announcement. Last week, someone left a 7th grade diary. And I don't know who it is. It's not really a 7th grade diary, but somebody left this book, so it'll be here if you want to pick it up. Looks like a female handwriting. Next week, we will be right back here, August 17th, and our program will be the District Governor, Adam Ehlert. So I'm sure we've got a great program planned, and I'm sure he will have some very excellent words of wisdom for us. So today, I'd like to leave you with this. This is from Alexandra Stoddard. What we do today, right now, will have an accumulated effect on all of our tomorrows. And this just reminds me of the profound importance of living by the 4-way test. So please stand, and we will go through the 4-way test plus 1. Of the things we think, say, or do, is the truth.